On the Owl's Head Peninsula, just south of Rockland, Maine, inside the boundary of Owl's Head State Park lies the Merriman Cemetery, often called the Lighthouse Cemetery. Hello everyone, and welcome to Cemetery Histories on Old Cemeteries of New England. In 1807, Sea Captain Nathaniel Merriman from Harpswell, Maine, purchased 80 acres on the Owl's Head Peninsula, which included a house and a barn. He moved in with his wife Mary, who was also his first cousin, and their 3 daughters, and made a living from farming their land. Over the next 15 years, Nathaniel and Mary would have 6 more children here. Nathaniel joined the Maine militia during the War of 1812, and their farm did so well that in 1816 Nathaniel purchased an additional 121 acres on the peninsula to expand the farm. Nathaniel's good fortune was short-lived, however, and he died at the young age of 45 and was the first recorded burial in the cemetery, which was on his property at the time. His cause of death is not recorded anywhere, but being a sea captain, it's quite possible his death occurred at sea. Their second daughter Mary died in childhood, but her burial details are not recorded. It's possible she may have been buried here. If so, she would have been the first burial in the cemetery. 3 years after his death, Nathaniel's wife and children, who still owned the farm, sold 17 acres to the United States government to build a lighthouse to help ships navigate the treacherous Penobscot Bay. The first light here was built in 1825, and the current lighthouse was finished in 1852. The Lightkeeper's Cottage now serves as the headquarters for the American Lighthouse Foundation. After Nathaniel's death, it's very likely that his headstone sat here alone for more than 40 years, when he was eventually joined by his son John, who had taken over the family farm and died at the age of 47. A few years after that, they would be joined by Oliver Gray, one of Nathaniel's grandchildren, and then by Nathaniel's wife Mary shortly after. Their son Nathaniel died shortly after his mother, at the age of 59, and would be the next to be buried here. 5 of their 9 children are buried in this cemetery: Almira, John, Jacob, Francis, and Nathaniel. 2 of Jacob's children, George and Mary, are also buried here. In addition to the Merrimans, a few members of the Smith family are buried here. It appears that the Smiths either owned or rented a property adjacent to the Merriman farm. And lastly, Captain Llewellyn Samuel Norwood was the 10th keeper of the Owl's Head Light, and died from heart disease while on the job in 1911. It appears that he took great pleasure in his job, and I imagine his family had him buried here for its proximity to the lighthouse. It's very likely that more members of the Merriman and Smith families are buried here, and their stones are buried or lost. The Owl's Head Cemetery Committee has plans to improve the cemetery, including installing a fence around the perimeter, fixing broken stones if possible, and determining if other stones are present and buried. The Lighthouse Cemetery is on the west side of Lighthouse Road, just after passing Dodge Point Lane on the way to the Owl's Head Lighthouse. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next cemetery.